New overnight, top Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee urging Chief Justice John Roberts to ensure Samuel Alito recuses himself from cases concerning the 2020 election and the January 6th insurrection. This after the New York Times reports of a second troubling flag on one of his properties. First, there was the upside-down American flag flown above Alito's home in the weeks after the January 6th riot. That was in Virginia. And now the Times has evidence of the Christian nationalist Appeal to Heaven flag flying above Alito's vacation house in New Jersey this past summer. These symbols have been embraced by election deniers and were both on display on January 6th. Alito has yet to comment on the Appeal to Heaven flag. That's the second flag. He claimed the upside-down flag was hung by his wife during a spat with a neighbor. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee. He is a member of the House Judiciary Committee.
Good morning, Senator. Appreciate your being on to talk about this. You've introduced a motion to censure Justice Alito and demand his recusal from hearing cases related to January 6th, et cetera. What's your response to a number of things? One, the Americans who say pretty much the court is shown is undeterred. It's really, not interested in accountability. And two, the response from the court itself in terms of whether or not they will actually take seriously this censure effort and preempt it in some way by, changing their game. How do you see this playing out?
I'm not sure if the court will change their game or not. I don't think Alito will. I think he's pretty much damn the torpedoes and full speed ahead. And the whole flag with the pine tree and the heaven is basically saying the revolution is the answer. And that's why the conspirators had that flag with them on January 6th, because it was about revolution and it was about going to a higher power because the law and the rule of law was not sufficient. And that's what that flag stands for, which is so ironic that a man who's on the Supreme Court and one of the leaders of the six that runs the court, I don't know if it's Chief Justice Roberts or if it's Alito, that they run the rule of law, and yet he would have a flag that says that the rule of law does not satisfy us. We need to have this higher call to heaven. Now, he has a Christian nationalist philosophy, and that's evident in that flag. But I think it shows two conflicts. One, on anything to do with January 6th and the insurrection, or anything to do with Trump and the trials that he's involved in. And two, anything the cases he's involved in that relate to church and state relations. He's shown a partiality in both those areas. He's shown them many times by his actions and by his statements, and he's proud of it. His hubris is evident, and I don't think they're going to change. Now, my hope is that Justice Roberts will see, and I'm sure he knows the polls show the court is at its low ebb, nadir, is public support. And people know that these Alito and Thomas have taken trips that are tens of thousands of dollars worth of value with people who sometimes have cases before the court. And they've accepted gifts, and they've accepted gifts for the mothers buying their mother's home and building museums, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This just taints the judiciary so much that it's beyond imagination that a justice who knows they're supposed to be beyond reproach would show their impartiality and their alliances with the wealthy who have influence over the court in appointments and curry favor all the time.
Congressman, it strikes me that if this happened in any other democracy in the world, the way in which we would be talking about it and reporting it, and I think the opinions folks would have, especially elected officials, would be very different. It shocks me how it seems as though this reporting came out, and now we know about the second flag, the Alito blaming his wife, which is a whole nother bag of things I'm not going to say because it's too early in the morning and children are still eating their Cocoa Puffs. But what can actually be done? How is it that Congress just went home on vacation for Memorial Day, when you literally have this court? The impartiality is not just being called into question. We are seeing it. It is blatant. It is being laid bare. They are rogue. Many of them are out of control. And it seems as though there's nothing Congress can do.
Well, we can't pass a censure resolution, which at least puts a scarlet letter on Alito, which I think would have some effect on the court's opinions, but then that has to get through committee. And Jim Jordan, who received a Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Trump at the time, I don't think will permit a vote on the item, even though it's getting more and more co-sponsors as the days go on. The impeachment is something that could be done, but it won't be done in this Congress. So we've just got to rely on the court, who has adopted, because of pressure from the Congress and mostly from the Senate and Senator Whitehouse, a code of ethics. And the code of ethics has clearly been violated. Now it's up to each individual justice to judge whether they've violated the code of ethics and to recuse themselves in cases where the impartiality may be in question. Alito, I don't think is caliber of a person to do that. He is not he's acting more like a street lawyer than a silk stocking lawyer, and that's what the Supreme Court is supposed to be: is silk stocking lawyers. This man is a silk stocking. His silk stocking stinks.
Big my cousin Vinny energy happening. I've heard some frustration on the part of members of the House with your colleagues in the U.S. Senate for not being more aggressive on this question. So if we go back to May 20th, that is, of course, before there was reporting on the Senate, on the second flag, Senator Durbin was asked about a potential investigation into that first flag. Here's what he said. No, we haven't got anything planned. I think he's explained the situation. The American public understands what he did, but I don't think there's much to be gained with a hearing at this point. I think he should recuse himself from cases involving Trump and his administration. Given now that there's a second flag, you have Durbin and others in the Senate saying we now need to sit down with the Chief Justice and really understand what happened here. It is my understanding of this code of ethics that when it first came out, when it was first introduced, that one, it was described as designed to fail, that there are a number of loopholes, especially on the question of recusal, given that one of the grounds on which a member of the court can refuse to recuse themselves is saying, well, I'm worried that there are not going to be enough votes here, right? That they're worried that if one of their other colleagues has to step out, that all of a sudden there would not be quorum. That seems simply ridiculous. And so it seems the idea that we're going to rely on a code that, Chief Justice Roberts has put in place but is unenforceable can't possibly be the answer. Do you then want to see more coming from your colleagues in the Senate if they actually get this meeting with Chief Justice Roberts, right? What is it that comes out of that is satisfactory?
Well, I think Sheldon Whitehouse has been, and Senator Durbin both have done admirable jobs in the past about trying to bring attention to the failures of the court to live up to its office, to the position it holds in our government. And I think they may get that. I still have faith in John Roberts. I've known him, and I think he's got a good values and a good heart, and I think he wants the court to reflect positively among the people in the country. But he has not shown the strength to act to see that it does that. Now, you can't make Roberts, can't make Alito recuse himself, but if he could take some type of actions. The big thing they've got before him right now is this case on Trump and whether or not he's got immunity on everything he does, whether he's a king. Jack Smith has gone to him some months ago and said, let's make this as urgent as possible so we can get this case tried before the election, that people know whether or not their president, the presidential candidate, is a crook. And they have done everything they can to put it on the back burner and put it off, just not as clearly and blatantly as the judge in Florida, who's obviously angling to be on the Supreme Court. But they're trying to save Trump this trial and this the facts which he would adduce for the public to see that he led the effort to overthrow the government on January the 6th. So I don't know what we can do, except John Roberts is the only hope, and he needs to act quickly. And if he is our hope, he's certainly not showing he is, because time is going through the hourglasses and disappearing, and it's going to be too late to have a trial.
Alicia, I know you're about to thank him. I just thought, let me say thank you, Congressman, because you know what? I'm like, what can be done? I'm very frustrated by this. I think lots of people are frustrated. And you're like, well, we can do a censure resolution, and you put that on the floor. You have put that forward. And I think that, frankly, in times when we are looking for our members of Congress to step up and do something in the face of this ridiculousness, the folks that do, they should be celebrated.